So we're talking about the practice and the power of personal resolve. These are some examples of resolutions that people take whenever there is the new year. These are from the US. I'm sure that there are also similar resolutions or in other countries in Europe, for example. In the Netherlands, they also did some research about this. They are very similar, believe me. Maybe you find it funny that sticking to a budget reminds me of the Netherlands. Anyway, there is the resolution of exercising more, very common, saving money, eating more healthily, getting more sleep, reducing stress, losing weight, or focusing on your spiritual growth, or sticking to a budget. These things are sometimes similar. These are the sort of resolutions that people sometimes take upon themselves when there is a new year, right? And we often hear about reports from news outlets that sometimes there is some research done and it shows that actually people don't really stick to their resolutions that much. And that can be true, but let us take it from a different angle. Instead of jumping into the topic of how to stick or adhere to your resolutions, why don't we just talk about those resolutions in the first place? Like, what are these resolutions that we are so obsessed with? And isn't there a better way to deal with resolutions? Now, resolutions, as you might have guessed, they are originally a bit of a spiritual practice. They are not as practical as some of these examples might give you the idea, right? Like, these are very practical resolutions. But originally, it was more of a spiritual practice. It came originally from Babylon. It's very old, from ancient Babylon. And then it moved to, it was adopted in the Roman Empire. Every new year, people would have a resolution. Kind of makes sense because our year calendar comes from the Roman Empire. So it kind of makes sense. So then they would have a resolution, but it would often involve prayer or some practice or something like that. And of course, in Christianity, the aspect of prayer or penance was even more emphasized. But these days, it has become more practical. And but we do not need to wait for the new year for making resolutions. Resolutions can be a practice in our daily lives. So what does Buddhism say about these things? Well, Buddhism starts talking about the aspect of resolutions in the context of what is known as the 10 paramis, 10 qualities that are very important in spiritual growth. The 10 paramis, 5 of them are mentioned here. They are about things in our life that we can develop to develop a better heart, to develop a good heart, to develop a sharp mind, to be a better person, with the ultimate aim of becoming a Buddha. Now, when I say becoming a Buddha, that sounds like a very high and lofty goal. But in Thai Buddhism, it is generally considered to be useful at every level, to learn about paramis as good practices to be a better person, to develop ourselves, and to accomplish our spiritual aims in this life and maybe even in the next lives. You can see that they are actually mentioned all the way at the end of the list. So they're here the first 5 paramis, and then we have 7 and 8 at the end. Now, I won't go through the entire table here, through the entire sheet here, but it's just these 2 that we are talking about today. So there's truth or truthfulness, and that helps us to overcome the habit of being hesitative. And you can practice it by sticking to your daily resolution. but you have to make that resolution first, right? So this is where resolute determination comes in. You overcome the habit of giving up easily, and you practice it by making a resolution every day. So these two are very similar. The first one, truth. In the ancient language, we use satya. Truthfulness or truth, satya. And it not only helps us to overcome hesitation, as I already mentioned, but it also helps us to overcome our fear or loss of faith, fear of loss of faith. It may be a bit of an Asian thing, right? That we always afraid of to lose faith. But even in the West, it can be a thing, right? So these are some of these habits that are important to develop in our lives, to become more truthful to your aims in life, to become more truthful to who you are, to become more truthful to others, to become more truthful to your spiritual values. And the Buddhist texts, they compare this with the morning star, right? What is it called in Danish, the morning star, Jesper? Are you still there?
Yes, I am still here.
The morning star, do you have one in Denmark?
Yes, I'm sorry, I don't really remember what it's called in Danish right now.
Yeah, I think it's similar word probably. In Dutch, we call it morgenster. But in the ancient Indian language, it's very different. They use the word osati, which is related to a word for medicine. And of course, as you may be aware, the morning star, it never moves from its course, right? There may be different kind of stars, and they're always moving, but the morning star is always fixed. And this is a symbol that we can think of, when we think of truthfulness in Buddhism. When you say something, you do something. When you say something, you do something. When you think something, you say it. And this is, well, you don't have to say everything you think, of course, but we stick to who we are, to what we do. We are truthful. And he said, the text says that the morning star or the Osati star, it is the same for everybody. It always is the same. Like if you can go travel to another part of the world, you will still find this same morning star. Now you might say, well, that holds for every star. Well, not not quite, because it will be slightly different, right? The different stars will be slightly different position, but the morning star is very stable. And all times and seasons, it will be there. It will not be become more vague when there is a different season. The morning star is always very firm. In the same way, a person who fulfills paramis or develops good qualities of the heart and mind, he will not deviate from his course of striving for his aims or her aims. So this is a comparison that is very important. Like this truthfulness is very important in Buddhism. So this is the quality when we talk about making a personal resolve. Or then we talk about resolute determination, adhitthana. You may have heard of this word. In Thai, they say adhitthana. Adhitthana means you are very determined, like a mountain that does not tremble because of winds, but remains stable. So a different metaphor, different image here. In the same way, a person doing good will be stable in their resolute determinations, helping us to overcome the habit of giving up easily. So these are very similar, okay? Now this one is actually mostly about daring to tell yourself, I'm going to stick to this. Daring to set the goal, having the courage to set the goal. This is adhitthana. Having the courage to visualize yourself as someone better in the future. Having the courage that you want to work on yourself. and that you dare to set a goal. Maybe it's even a goal that you're not sure whether you can attain it in your life, but you set it anyway, just to challenge yourself. This is what it's called adhitthana. And in a moment, I will give you a few examples. But the truthfulness is what actually makes us stick to it. If you have truthfulness, but you don't have adhitthana, then you don't know what to strive for. Some people I've met in my life, they were like that. Like they were very truthful people, but they never really had a goal in their lives. And then when they learn about the spiritual life, they learn about the wise life, they learn about doing good deeds, they do learn about all these good practices, they suddenly just completely revive their lives. They completely become vivid, and they suddenly strive for all the things they like to accomplish. Their lives change completely, even though they had this honesty always in them, but they never really strived for anything. So this is two things that have to go together, right? One way to look at resolute determination or adhitthana as well, it's just like a frame that helps you keep on track. The traditional comparison that Kunyai, you remember Kunyai, right? Kunyai, the nun who founded our temple. Anybody remembers Kunyai? She was the nun who founded our temple, and she would always say that is like the when you make a resolute determination, it's like you have like, I don't know the English word, but it's like you have a place where you can keep your cattle. Anybody here from a farm? Anybody here from a farm, living on a farm? So it's like the place where you keep the cattle. And if you have like this frame or this framework where the cattle can be safe from the wolves or from other animals, they also don't run away or hurt themselves. This is like an image. You know, Kunyai, she used to be a farmer's daughter. And this is a very powerful image. She said that you have to have some sort of framework in life, like things that you like to aim for. Why? So that you don't get lost. When you sometimes struggle and it's difficult, sometimes we can forget what is important in life for us. But we can also, and maybe even more so, forget what is important for us, spiritually speaking, morally speaking, when things go good, when things go well for us. Because that's the moment when people tend to forget themselves at times, right? When things go very well for us, sometimes you can forget what you believe in. You can forget yourself. Maybe sometimes you lose yourself in that process. So that's why it's good to have a frame in life, things you like to accomplish. And also in a more metaphysical sense, right? In a more supernatural sense. It helps you to channel your good karma. So suppose we all have some good karma in our lives. The good things we have done, the good things we have said, good things we have thought, they come together as a sort of energy. And this sometimes we can call old karma from the past. We take it with us. We don't know when it's going to ripen. When those things ripen, we find that we have good circumstances in our lives. But when we channel our good karma, it's like we are saying to ourselves, whatever good karma we have, we like to aim it at this. We like to aim it at this. Sometimes it's compared with a blueprint of a house. Like you need a blueprint when building a house, and then you work on that, and you need a budget. And that budget is the good deeds that you have done. Maybe this is a bit of a strange comparison, but anyway, maybe you can imagine what we're looking at here. There's different aims of life in Buddhism that is talked about. Just the simple idea of being in this present life and being a good person, taking good care of your family, making sure everybody's well fed. You do that. Some people say you're a good person. You take good care of your family. You have a good job. You're not hurting anybody. Yeah, you're a good person. That's enough. That's enough for me. Yes, a lot of people in the world, they think like that. That's enough. But then some people say, I would like to go a little farther than that. Say, I would like to really be a beautiful person, beautiful in heart, not beautiful because of makeup, but beautiful in heart because of character. This is something that in Buddhism we see it as something we can practice for many lifetimes. We don't have to finish the whole project in one life, but we can work on ourselves in every lifetime. And every little goodness we do, it gradually builds up and it gradually affects all our lifetimes to come. Now, some people might have doubts about that, right? I mean, like in this cartoon, right? When a grandchild says to his grandfather, yeah, well, I didn't believe in reincarnation when I was your age either. Some people might have their doubts about that, whether that is a real thing, whether we really are being reborn in many lifetimes. But let us just give it the benefit of the doubt, right? Maybe it's true or not, but let us just give it the benefit of the doubt and work with this idea. That means that we have many lifetimes, that we can work on good qualities. The accomplishment of faith is often mentioned in Buddhist texts. Accomplishment of living ethically. So these are all things that we can aim for in our life. We can think of these things as our resolution in life, things that are important in life. But faith doesn't mean, oh, okay, I'm going to the local Buddhist monk and I'm going to say to him, I'm Buddhist. You know, some people come to me and they say, I'm Buddhist. You know that, right? I'm Buddhist. I say, well, that's good for you. It doesn't mean that much to say what you are. But if you tell me, if somebody comes to the temple and they say, I meditate every day, I think it's very important in my life, I feel happy, you know, I feel happy because of that. And that is the Buddhist spirit. We don't really care that much about what people are calling themselves. But faith is not about that. Faith is about making sure that faith is about the belief that what you are aiming for in life, or all the good things that you do, that those will pay off. That all the good things that you do, they really come back to you. That goodness has a reward in itself, bringing you joy, bringing you purity of heart, and even just bringing you good circumstances, bringing you good people in your life. It's the nature of goodness to attract more goodness. That is what is faith in Buddhism. And also the belief that one day this leads to the process of awakening, but that's a different topic. Accomplishment of living ethically means that you actually try to work on your ethics in every life. You work on your ethics, your habits. You're careful with your speech. You take responsibility for your family. Take responsibility for your work. You don't steal. You don't cheat on your partner. These are sort of ethics in Buddhism. That is very basic, right? In every religion, we talk about that. But in Buddhism, we see it, this is something you can develop. Maybe this life we made some mistakes, but next lifetime we can do even better. But we make sure that we are always aiming to improve. Accomplishment of generosity means that when we talk about living ethically, it's all about restraint, right? But generosity is all about opening up. These two qualities, they should be combined. Whereas when we are having moral principles, we tend to limit ourselves, which is necessary sometimes. But when we have generosity, it's more expanding. These two, they are very powerful if we combine them in our lives. So we should always ask ourselves in every moment in our lives, how am I working on my ethics? How am I working on my generosity? These are things that are very important in Buddhism. The accomplishment of wisdom is about being what is wisdom in Buddhism? Wisdom is about understanding life, understanding how our mind works, understanding what makes us happy and suffer, and understanding the nature of reality. Wisdom is very deep in Buddhism. So these are things that we work on all the time. And wisdom is the most highest quality in Buddhism. So that's why eventually this is the quality that leads to enlightenment. But this is why it's always mentioned at the last as the highest quality. And faith and wisdom, they always mentioned together by the Buddha. If he talks about faith, he always also talks about wisdom, because wisdom is the confirmation of faith. When you are faithful about something, you believe this is a good thing to do, we should do this. But you don't know it 100% yet, but you believe it. But when you are wise, you also have seen it and you are certain. This is a different level, but they should always go together. Otherwise, faith will be blind. And wisdom needs sometimes some faith because we don't always know everything yet. Okay, I'm going to skip this one to make it not too long today. So this is some practical advice, how you can make a resolve in your daily life, a resolution. And maybe you can get a bit of an idea of what I'm talking about. A good daily resolution, what does that mean? Isn't that the word that they use by the United Nations or something, a resolution? But a resolution can be very personal. First of all, it's good to make a good resolution before you go to bed. Things you'd like to accomplish in your life, you like to work on, things that are important for you in life. This is a resolution. And you can also do that before you do something good, like before you are making a donation. It can be a donation in the temple, or it could be that you are filling out some form to make a donation to something. Anything good you can combine with a resolution. And you should meditate first to give you some concentration or clarity. And think about all the goodness that you've done. Think about the basis of your resolution. All the goodness you've done, all the sacrifices you made, all the efforts you've done, and you build on that. You might, if you feel that that doesn't give you strength, you can think of your spiritual teachers. You can do that as well. Anybody who's inspired you. Maybe it's different from depending on what religion you believe in. But it's important to think about people's personal qualities, okay? Really qualities that are human. And you think about those qualities and how they inspire you. And then you write it down. Things you'd like to accomplish in your life that are important. Not only in your career, please. It's not only about career, everything. People always make everything about their career when it comes to self-improvement. But it can be about your family. It can also be spiritually about how you want to be as a human being, how you want to develop a good heart. It can also be about things that you feel are not under your control, but somehow you might believe that your karma you can channel your karma to that thing, to that purpose. Then you can repeat it in yourself. softly. You don't need to read it out loud, but if you want, you can do that. But it doesn't need to. It's about a personal saying. You don't. It's a tradition in Thai Buddhism to read out resolutions, but it doesn't have to be. You don't have to do that. You can do it, but it doesn't have to be. There's a difference between prayer. I'm not saying that prayer is wrong or evil or something, but it's not the same as a resolution. A prayer is asking an external force or intelligence for something, whereas a resolution is developing wishes in your mind, and they become part of your character as well as you devote yourself to these wishes, to these things you'd like to aim for. Prayer is usually drawing from the will or grace of a God, whereas a resolution is drawing from your merit or good karma as a cause. Again, I'm not saying that prayers are wrong. I'm not saying that you shouldn't pray or that I'm not saying that, but I'm just there's a difference. A resolution in Buddhism, or adhitthana, the Pali word, means that you draw from your merit or your good karma as the cause, and then you develop certain wishes that helps you develop your mind and character. Well, karma. Oh, I think it's an old recording that I accidentally switched on. So these are some examples of resolutions. They, like Kunyai Ajahn, Kunyai, the nun that I talked about earlier, she would always say, "May I be pure in body, speech, and mind." What does that even mean? Body, speech, and mind refers to our actions, our words, and our thoughts. These are ethical categories. Sometimes we refer to them as the three gates. But body, speech, and mind means the actions you do, your mental actions, your verbal actions, and your physical actions. So when Kunyai, when she said, "May I be pure in body, speech, and mind," she meant that may our actions be good. May they be constructive. May they be helpful. This is one way you can visualize yourself. May I always act wisely. May I always do the right thing, even when it's hard. And then you can make a resolution. When you make a resolution, it's always about attaining nirvana. What does that even mean? Some people, they come to me, sometimes a journalist, some news outlet, local news usually, or sometimes a student wanting to know more about Buddhism. And they ask me this question: is enlightenment real? What is enlightenment, Lupi? I don't know about enlightenment. Can you tell me more about enlightenment? And then I say, enlightenment, whether it's real, but the important thing is not who is enlightened. Is there anybody enlightened? Should we go for them? Should we buy a ticket to see them? No. Enlightenment is a standard to which you hold yourself by. Enlightenment or nirvana means being free from greed, hatred, delusion, being free from negative emotions and unrealistic perceptions. That is enlightenment. So everything that is mentioned here is all in order to be free from greed, be free from hatred, be free from delusion. This is a very high and noble aim. And that is the aim of Buddhism. So everything which you want to aim for in life, that you think you need on that path, you can also put into your resolution. Even things that are more superficial, like health and good appearance, material wealth and following, meaning people that help you on your way. Noble qualities like intelligence, wisdom, and knowledge coming from meditation. All of these good things you can aim for. You can even want for those things. That's okay. But you do this in order to become a better person, eventually to gradually rid yourself from greed, rid yourself from anger or hatred, and overcome the illusion in the mind. These are some examples that are sometimes also mentioned in resolutions. Some people, they are visualizing a heaven that they want to be reborn in. For example, in the Buddhist text, it's often mentioned that the Tusita heaven is a place where people can be reborn in the next life. And that is a place where all the people that go there are aiming for goodness. And they don't stay there for long. They are quickly reborn again as a human being to do more good. So it's kind of like a short trip by people who would like to be human again and continue to do good. Now, you might not believe in that, or you might, but I'm mentioning it here to give you an idea. Then when you are born as a human again in the future, you can also make a resolution that may I be born in a family of right view, a family, parents, my brothers, my siblings, that support me in doing good, being a good person. And sometimes you might even, in your resolution, you might even write down that I would like to be born in a country that is suitable in order to fulfill paramis or in order to do good. Because suppose you are born in a war-torn country, it's quite difficult to do good, right? It's more difficult. Because sometimes in order to do good, to protect your family, to protect your country, you have to kill. This makes it more difficult. So you can make a resolution aiming for these things. Now, you might think, well, these are things we don't have in our own control. But this is where the channeling of karma comes in. We channel our karma to these goals. We channel our karma to these aims. And then we can gradually see these things fulfilled. And I'm not telling you this only because it's a theory. I'm telling you this because I've practiced these things myself, and I believe it's true. I've seen it with my own eyes. Some people feel a strong connection with our teachers, like Long Po, the meditation master, or Kunyai, the nun, or our current abbot, Lompa Tamachayo. Then you can, even in your resolution, you can write that you'd like to be close to them in every lifetime. You would like to be able to learn from them in every lifetime. So these are some examples that are mentioned of things that are good to strive for. And it's important to take a resolution when in these things.